Welcome back to the deep dive. We've got quite a pile of sources here today: history, economics, some really fascinating philosophical dialogue.
And our job, as always, is to dig into all that and pull out the essential knowledge. We want to help you see how things really operate, not just how they seem.
Today, we're diving headfirst into this concept that the sources call the illusion of calm. The original phrase was up en bien.
Right. And we're using Berlin, summer 1914, as our our case study.
It's such a striking image they paint, isn't it? All of Europe went on holiday, markets totally quiet, sunbathing almost.
But underneath, history was, as they put it, quietly tying the fuse, preparing for, the biggest explosion the world had seen up to that point.
And we're really focusing on how this illusion worked, how it functioned, and specifically, how it trapped people who were smart, ambitious.
Like the young banker Hjalmar Schacht, highly disciplined, successful, had everything going for him, except maybe access to the real information before it all blew up.
So our mission here, it's not just about the history, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's about getting under the hood, understanding the mechanisms. How does power actually, manufacture a sense of normalcy?
And why do sharp people, analytical people like Schacht, why do they miss the signs? When the danger signals are there, plain as day sometimes.
Yeah. Why do we miss them? This is really a deep dive into perception versus reality.
Let's kick off with that central puzzle. These massive crises like World War I, they always feel so sudden when they hit. Shocking even.
Right. But the forces behind them, they must have been building for years, decades sometimes.
So why does history seem to just slam on the accelerator? Why does society seem completely, utterly unprepared?
And that brings us right to the core idea in that philosophical dialogue we looked at. What if? What if peace isn't the default state?
You mean, what if it's something artificial?
Something like a carefully managed mist sprayed by power, as they put it. If you accept that, even just as a possibility,
Then you have to ask the next question.
who actually benefits when everyone's convinced nothing is happening? Just, stay calm, carry on.
And it circles back to that other question from the source material that nags at me. Why are the smart ones, the analysts, the people paid to see patterns? Why are they so often caught in the same trap?
They should be the first to see the cracks appearing.
You'd think so.
The source material really emphasizes needing to make some crucial distinctions. We have to be clear about the difference between, say, genuine order.
Which needs real, verifiable stability.
Exactly. Versus just reassurance. Words and gestures designed purely to make you feel okay.
Like a political bedtime story.
Sort of. And there's a huge gap between real information and, outright manipulation.
And the toughest one, maybe, for us personally, distinguishing real patriotism from just convenient prejudice.
That one cuts deep.
The insight they pulled from Berlin, 1914, it's kind of chilling how relevant it still feels. This rule about public psychology.
You mean the one that says, basically, when people prefer not to see something uncomfortable?
They'll grab onto just enough information, just enough reassurance to convince themselves they don't need to look any deeper.
Yeah. It's the comfort of routine winning out over the hard work of actually thinking critically. Believing the system's fine means you don't have to change anything.
Okay, so let's look at the proof. How was this illusion actually managed in 1914? The sources give some really concrete examples of the staging.
Yeah, the first big one is the political staging. You had the most powerful leaders in Europe deliberately, very publicly, going on holiday.
Right, the Kaiseros in Norway, the Austrian emperor at Bad Ischl.
And this wasn't just routine vacation time. The sources argue it was a calculated normalization script, using public relaxation, taking yourself off the stage.
To hide the intense secret planning happening behind the curtain.
Precisely. They were performing calm, signaling to everyone, markets, public, even their own lower ranks, look, we're relaxing, so everything must be fine.
But then the switch flips. That emotional switch, as the sources call it. The speed of it is just staggering.
It really was. One day, Berlin streets are quiet, summery, normal. The next, boom. Mobilization orders read out loud from the statue of Frederick the Great.
And the crowds.
Instantaneously. From apathy to this.
Yeah.
This roaring patriotic fervor, singing Deutschland, Deutschland über alles.
So the illusion didn't just fade away.
No, it was actively switched off. The sources say the script was finished, the cue was given, the performance of peace was over, and the public was ready for the next act.
That speed is hard to grasp.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk money. Usually, panic hits the banks first, right?
Yeah.
So why wasn't there this massive run on gold in Berlin?
Now that financial calm, That's maybe the most telling detail. It wasn't luck. It wasn't a happy accident at all.
It was planned.
Deeply planned. The dialogue points out that ever since a previous crisis, the Agadir crisis in 1911, the German central bank had been quietly, systematically
Stockpiling gold.
exactly building up massive reserves, preparing for the shock they knew, or at least suspected, was coming.
So using the original phrase, they were building the dam beforehand, Dungay 2 trick, while the politicians were putting on the summer holiday show.
That's the crucial split. Institutional layer prepares for the worst. Political layer performs normality. One steadies the ship, the other maximizes the element of surprise.
Which loops us back to Hjalmar Schacht. 36 years old, ambitious, disciplined banker. He's doing everything right by the book.
But he's not in the inner circle. He's not at that top decision layer. So he's getting the same public story as everyone else, reading the same reassurances.
He had to rely on what the source calls the moral optimism of the leaders, believing they wouldn't let things get that bad.
And that's the individual tragedy, isn't it? You can be brilliant, disciplined, but if your information feed is just the curated public narrative, if you don't have that backstage view, you're vulnerable to the fiction.
He trusted the appearance of stability.
More than any nagging feelings of unease he might have had.
So, summing up this historical snapshot, piece, or the illusion of it, was this weird mix of political acting.
Designed for surprise.
Combined with deep institutional preparation.
Designed to manage the fallout.
And crucially, fueled by the public's own desire not to see the trouble coming. They wanted comfort.
Exactly right. Okay, so we've seen what happened. Now, let's really try to decode why it works. What are the psychological gears grinding away underneath?
Right, let's unpack those core principles behind the illusion. What's the first one?
The first mechanism is simply the calm illusion itself. Power understands the value of routine. Normal rituals, predictable schedules, vague official statements.
They anchor our expectations.
Precisely. And we start to confuse the ritual, like the leader always taking that August vacation, with the reality of the situation.
We assume because the routine is happening, the underlying situation must be stable too.
It speaks to a fundamental human bias, I think. We trust continuity, maybe more than we trust inconvenient facts that disrupt the pattern.
That makes sense. We crave predictability, which probably feeds right into the second principle you mentioned, the collective ego bias.
Absolutely. When a nation, or maybe even a company, feels like it's really succeeding on the rise,
everyone starts interpreting everything through that lens. Even warning signs get twisted into proof of how special or strong they are.
You see it with Schacht and his peers. Germany was ascendant, powerful. How could a war really derail that? Success breeds a kind of deafness to risk.
And that must apply individually too, right? If your career's been soaring for a decade, it's incredibly hard to imagine some new factor could just crash the whole thing.
Definitely. The collective ego is just the individual ego amplified. Then there's the third mechanism, pacification technology.
Technology, you mean like propaganda?
More than just words. It's about managing the whole emotional environment. Symbolic actions, public rituals, parades, songs, and yes, controlling the news flow.
So it's not just about spinning the headlines, it's about creating a mood.
Exactly. Creating euphoria or distraction or even just apathy. Whatever emotional state makes critical thinking difficult or unwelcome. Manage the pulse, not just the text.
Okay. And number 4 takes us back to the gold reserves.
Right. Silent institutional readiness. While the politicians are reassuring everyone, the serious institutions, central banks, military logistics, maybe risk management departments today, they're quietly preparing for the worst. Building reserves, running scenarios.
And because they are prepared, when the crisis hits, the system doesn't instantly collapse, which, to an outsider, might just look like
Incredible luck. But it's not luck. It's the result of unseen discipline and structure.
So the real takeaway for anyone leading anything, stability isn't built on slogans. It's built on hidden reserves, solid processes, contingency plans.
Couldn't agree more. And finally, the fifth mechanism, the external blame loop.
Finding someone else to point the finger at.
It's almost inevitable. As tension builds and becomes unbearable, society looks for an outlet, a scapegoat, an instigator.
It protects the collective self-image, right? We're not the problem, they are. And it justifies, it justifies lashing out.
Exactly. Recognizing that pattern, that blame loop starting up, is critical if you want to keep your own judgment clear.
So the overall picture is, you can have external discipline, like Germany's gold.
But still suffer from internal vagueness, blind spots, biases, illusions. The external prep isn't enough if the internal perception is flawed.
Okay, we've laid out the history, the mechanisms. This is fascinating, but maybe a little bleak. How do we actually use these lessons?
Yeah.
How do we apply Berlin 1914 to our lives, our careers, our decisions today?
Right, this is the crucial step. Turning analysis into action. We can distill this down into 4 principles for living more consciously.
Let's hear them. Principle 1.
Principle 1, the 2-layer truth. Always, always ask, okay? That's the official story, the public ritual, but what's happening behind the curtain?
Don't just accept the surface.
Never. Don't let the ceremonial smile, the slick presentation, the confident statement be the end of your inquiry. In your own work, you need to actively build what we could call a backstage signal map.
Meaning?
Meaning you track the real stuff, the anomalies, the quiet tensions, and things not mentioned in the official updates, independent of the corporate spin.
So less focus on the glossy annual report, more on, say, why talented people are quietly leaving a specific department.
Exactly that kind of thing. Okay, principle 2, emotional counterbalance. This is the direct antidote to that collective ego bias we talked about.
How does that work?
It means actively managing your own emotional response relative to the group's mood.
Yeah.
When everyone around you, your team, your industry, your country is swept up in euphoria and certainty.
You force yourself to be the disciplined skeptic. Ask the hard questions.
Right. And conversely, when the group is paralyzed by fear, pessimism, panic, you consciously look for the contrary evidence, the hidden strengths, the overlooked opportunities.
It's about deliberately swimming against the emotional tide.
It's about maintaining your own equilibrium. True consciousness, maybe, is the skill of balancing the collective heartbeat without getting swept away by it.
But doesn't that risk making you seem, I don't know, negative? Or just disconnected from the team effort?
It's not about being negative. It's about maintaining reserves. Think of it this way. Being skeptical when everyone's high builds your intellectual and emotional capacity. Seeking opportunity when everyone's low allows you to deploy that capacity wisely. It's observation, not opposition.
Okay, that makes more sense. Observation, not opposition. Principle 3.
Dual preparation. This learns directly from the Schacht tragedy. Institutional readiness isn't enough. You need personal readiness, too.
So if the company needs disaster recovery plans,
Then you need your own personal version. Match the institutional discipline processes, reserves, documented risks with equally disciplined personal habits,
like what?
like basic financial resilience. Having emergency savings, even if your job feels rock solid, like keeping your skills updated, like documenting your own risks and assumptions. The point is, you have to actively construct your stability. Don't just assume the system will provide it.
Build your own dam, basically.
In a sense, yes. And principle 4, advancement without self-loss. This tackles the ambition problem we saw with Schacht.
Ambition's good, right? It drives progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Ambition is the engine. But humility, questioning yourself, that's the steering wheel. Schacht had immense drive, that steel will to climb.
But he lost the steering.
He seems to have lacked the crucial ability to seriously question the core beliefs and competence of the very system, the very leaders that were promoting him. If your ambition makes you stop questioning the hand that feeds you, you become blind.
You lose the ability to see the iceberg ahead because you're so focused on polishing the brass on the Titanic.
That's a grim but apt analogy.
Which leads us to this final concept from the source material, this internal gold standard, bon vivant noitam. It sounds like the ultimate personal defense.
It really is framed as the ultimate resilience tool.
Yeah.
Just like that German bank built its external gold reserves.
We need to build our internal reserve.
Exactly. And it's not just about money. The sources break it into 3 parts. First, your capacity. Practical things like your skills, your health, your network. Things you build quietly when times are good.
Okay, makes sense.
Second, your awareness. This is about your mental habits. Critical thinking, that backstage signal map we talked about, intellectual curiosity, questioning assumptions.
Right, the mental toolkit.
And third, arguably the foundation, your moral reserve, your non-negotiables, the principles you simply won't compromise, even under pressure, even for personal gain.
Your ethical bedrock.
Precisely. So when the external shock does hit, and history suggests it eventually will, the person with this internal gold standard doesn't collapse into panic.
They can draw on these reserve.
They trade the emotional chaos for a kind of measured calm. They can think clearly because they have this internal solvency. The external illusion might shatter, but their inner economy holds firm.
That's the goal then.
That has to be the goal. Real peace, Sustainable peace doesn't come from everyone just deciding to go on holiday and ignore the cracks.
It comes from individuals choosing to stay awake.
Choosing vigilance continuously.
So if there's one lesson from Berlin 1914, it's that the deepest calm often comes just before the storm. A manufactured calm.
And our task, your task, is to resist that siren song of reassurance.
Ask one more question, check one more fact, build one more layer of personal reserve, even, maybe especially, when everyone else is singing the anthem of everything's fine.
Remember Schacht. Remember how easy it is, especially when you're successful, to mistake the ritual for the reality. To confuse reassurance with actual safety.
If you found this deep dive useful, think about sharing it. Maybe with someone you know who's facing a big decision, or perhaps seems a little too comfortable in their current situation.
Why? Because maybe, just maybe, they're living in that false dawn. And sometimes, just one thoughtful question, one shared insight,
is enough to help the real sun of awareness rise.
We hope this helps you build your own internal gold standard and helps you learn never to confuse the ritual with the truth or simple reassurance with genuine, hard-won serenity.